Hello, welcome to another video. If you'd like to support the channel, head over to Patreon. I got a load of free stuff, but if you're able, it'd be great if you could support the channel and you'll get a shout out at the end of the video. If you're after any maps or prompts or anything like that, it's all sorts of good stuff over at oddartworks.com. My mini dungeon zine is currently up for pre-order until the 15th of September, so if you want to get the first 10 dungeons, head on over to oddartworks.com and you can pre-order the mini zine there, and hopefully I'll get them all shipped out sort of the end of September, beginning of October time. Okay, let's get on with the video. Okay, another random mini dungeon, this time number 11, start of a new batch. Let's see what we rolled. So we rolled a 12, which is an abandoned mine. Okay, let's see what we get for this. Okay, for our door, we got some tracks, so this could be quite an interesting one. For the next one, the D8, we got a flying kobolds, maybe, and a giant worm. Okay, that's fun. For the next one, we got an ancient artifact and an ancient statue. Okay, so something's been buried here. And then for our common stuff, we got lanterns, so good, we've got some stuff to light the place with, spiders and kobold warriors. Okay, so very kobold centric this one, which is good. And for our exit, we got a pit. So the only way is down, apparently. Okay, let's see how this goes. So I start off as always doing an isometric little drawing. I had this idea of like a roller coaster track. The very first thing I wanted to draw was a kobold. So my kobolds are kind of like fat kind of rodents crossed with lizards with horns, and they're quite fun to draw, really. I always think of them as a little bit tougher and a bit more sophisticated than goblins. I like to think they kind of have short man syndrome a little bit, and as a short man I can speak to this. So even though they're only little, I like to think inside they believe they're dragons. They think they're very important. So getting the tracks all together, create a bit of visual interest for this one, and then I wanted to get the worm in there pretty quickly, and the idea was to have the worm kind of crisscross the tracks as we're going, and have another kind of kobold having to deal with this. So the narrative being that this mine has been abandoned and the kobolds have taken it over, and they're only just kind of discovering why it's been abandoned, so big worms and all sorts of stuff. So this is quite fun to kind of draw, like kind of a mini sandworm from Dune type thing. Yeah, I love drawing kind of gross worms and things like that. They're quite good fun to draw. I'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone who's pre-ordered a zine. Sales have been crazy good, so really looking forward to getting that all finished and shipped off to everybody. I think you'll be very pleased with it. I'm very pleased with it. So it'll be good to see how it looks when I get it back from the printers. There's still time to pre-order a zine if you'd like one. But yeah, on with this. So yeah, I've never really drawn train tracks before, which is weird. So I kind of looked at a little bit of reference, but I kind of like the way they kind of curve around a little bit. And I was thinking about this the other day. I to this still don't know why I decided to do these dungeons portrait rather than landscape. It would have been a lot easier. Because when I first did them, I had no intention of making them into a zine or anything like that. So yeah. So anyway, then we've got the ancient statue and the artifact. So I wanted to have a flying kobold trying to kind of freaking out at seeing this big worm and trying to pull this sword out to deal with it. So the sword is the artifact, and this statue is this weird kind of tentacle altar type statue to kind of a long dead old one, or Cthulhu-esque deity type thing. So yeah, it's interesting trying to draw tentacles as a statue. If you're doing kind of straight edges and things, statues kind of quite easy, but when you've got curves and stuff, particularly things like tentacles, they become a bit trickier. So again, trying to keep track of these tracks. I didn't really mean to say that, but yeah, it becomes a bit of a head scratcher. There was a lot going on with this. I ended up really playing into the verticality of everything. So it was quite good fun. And I kind of decided I wanted the statue to be kind of once like a big dwarven kind of warrior type statue, but it's been corrupted, so it's kind of got tentacles kind of attached to it and all sorts. So just kind of working out where that statue goes in relation to the tracks, because I wanted the tracks to kind of snake around it a little bit, like it's been excavated at some point and just abandoned. So yeah, it was quite important to try and get some of that detail in quite early, and even though I had a plan of where the tracks would go, and trying to keep it straight in my head about which track was on which level was a bit tricky. But all that lovely rock texture really helps sell the kind of environment, and yeah, this was kind of a joy to draw. Actually, I really quite enjoyed the challenge of this one. You know, I think because I was a little bit ill for the ghost ship, so doing this one, it was kind of quite nice, and I wanted to get some quite creepy spiders in there. I'm not really an arachnophobe or anything like that, but I must admit when they get to a certain size they do kind of freak me out a little bit. But fortunately we don't get them too big where I live, which is good. And sort of a kobold doing battle with one of these spiders, I imagine, before the worm came and whatever else is going on with this statue. The spiders are the biggest problem the kobolds have to deal with, so these brave kobold warriors are out to deal with these rotten spiders. So yeah, you know, I managed to not put any ghosts or books in this one, so quite proud of myself there. I seem to lean on those kind of tropes quite a lot in these things. So yeah, pretty happy with that. The trick with this was trying to work out, keep it all straight in my head really, about what was tracks, what was spider, what was shadow. So trying to keep it going as much as possible without having to do too much as I move on, because I when I'm making these videos, it's quite an unnatural way to work really, because I draw a bit in pencil, then I ink that, and then I go back and I draw another bit in pencil, so you kind of have to get it straight in your head so that it works and makes more of an interesting video. I don't quite know why I do it that way, but it seems to work. I also wanted some drama, some action, so I've got this flying kobold kind of slicing into the worm as it goes from the statue back into the wall, and a big splurt of goo, which could be acidic. You know, that would be quite an interesting kind of thing. If this was your dungeon, having worms have acid for blood would be terrifying and would really freak your players out a little bit, so always good to have something like that going on. So yeah, you know, really quite pleased, and getting the details in the dwarven statue without it kind of getting lost in all the rock work was tricky, but I feel like we got there in the end. So yeah, it was quite nice kind of following the tracks along the dungeon in this one and sort of kind of making it work. I feel like I hit all of the prompts that I rolled quite early on, so it was really nice just to not have to worry about that and just embellish away, you know, and yeah, just fill those lovely details in. Drawing wise, I think I spent about an hour and a half drawing this, and then probably about another hour or so colouring it in the computer. So yeah, I wanted to get a spider right at the end there, so filling in the tracks so I know where I'm going with it all. Really just roughing it in, because I you know, it's not complicated stuff, it's quite easy to kind of ink that stuff. I don't need a ton of detail. I like the idea of that spider just kind of grabbing that poor kobold and pulling him down into the depths where the track runs out into the pit, which is our exit or end of the dungeon, if you like. Maybe that's what I should call it. I shouldn't call it an exit, should I? Should I call it the end of the dungeon? But yeah, I think it works quite well. Hiding my signature in the spider this time round. All those legs, got to make sure it's clinging to the rock face in true creepy spider fashion. But I imagine these things stay still for long periods of time and then pounce when the opportunity arises. Yeah, I think spiders in any dungeon can be quite scary, even if you're not arachnophobic. I think if you ever see documentaries of them, they're terrifying, the way they attack prey, you know. And I'm very thankful that kind of giant, like man-sized spiders don't really exist in our world, but in fantasy worlds, yeah, they are formidable. So yeah, kind of got all the detail done and then went in with my big fat smelly pen, just to kind of figure out how much of this is going to be actually seen, because I'm very aware that, you know, mines are quite dark places. I got these lanterns and I imagine there'll be some light coming off the statue, but I really wanted to frame it all with a nice kind of black outline to kind of make that central kind of structure stand out and trying to play on the verticality of it all. So yeah, really happy with this drawing. I think it's certainly one of my favourites anyway. You know, there's no ghosts in it, so it definitely won't be my favourite, but it's creepy enough. I do like it, you know, so just filling in those last bits of dark kind of shadow, and then I can rub all the pencil lines out and scan it in. So there's the scan. I initially thought I'd have quite a lot to fix, but looking at it, I didn't really have an awful lot left to fix, which you'll see. All I really did was I intensified the shadows and tidied the edges up, so this is the kind of fixed version. So just really made it clear what was worm, what was rock, what was cobbled, what was spider, what was statue, to make it kind of read a bit better. But it is quite busy, but I think that's what I like about this one. So 3 tones of grey really made some things pop out, like the worm and the cobbles, and kind of made sure the rock face all was quite knocked back. So yeah, I always know if it'll work at this stage, so quite happy there. And then my colours, I want it to be quite a limited palette because it is quite dark, so I stuck with kind of blues and pinks. They seem to bounce off each other pretty well. So yeah, on the whole, really pleased with that. And if you do a good job with all the greys, you don't have to worry about colour too much. And then just adding some effects. So I want the spider's eyes to pop out, the blood on the worm to stand out, and a little bit of an eerie pink glow underneath. And then the very last thing to do was to add the title, The Abandoned Mine. And there we have it. This is literally it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making this one. And as always, I would like to thank all my Patreons. Without you, I couldn't make these videos. So you'll have my gratitude. Here's your credit. If you can, feel free to join. And yeah, thanks for your support, folks. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next time. Have a good one. Take it easy now. Bye.